I think, let me look at this little window. I think I, I think we're live. Listen, stay here. You may be disappointed that there's not an arena or a meadow with a horse galloping in it, but there's more riding going to be learned here this summer than anywhere else on the internet. So don't be one of those horse people that clicks and then bounces away. Listen, pay attention, find out, because that's exactly what your horses need. They need to pay attention and follow the instructions that they can understand and do them. Okay. This is office hours. This summer, the topic is tense horses. Last summer, the topic was, quote, stuck horses or horses that are deemed lazy, which is the reverse of the topic this summer. But I don't think, you will find astonishing similarities between the solutions for the stuck ones that heal or soothe the tense ones. Last week, a summary sort of last week is I was intending to make it clear to you guys that no horse or any creature actually is going to confidently follow an uncertain trumpet. Have you ever heard that old colloquialism? An uncertain trumpet is one that is unsure, that doesn't quite know, and that you can feel a little self-doubt or a little uncertainty or not quite sure, that no animal or child is going to trust that and relax into that. Now, that sounds like that idea would bolster what we are finding all over hell and God on the internet these days, which is, I just read one yesterday all about posturing, how we posture depending on the horse we go, that we're going to go meet. They're not feral, you guys. You're not encountering a grizzly bear on a trail in Alaska. These are domestic animals. They've been domestic for centuries. Even the feral Mustangs, they are the most feral they're going to be, but those are some of the quietest, most sensible horses I've ever seen. So I don't posture anything. I mean, you go, hello, nice to meet you. You start talking, you find out what they know. And they're not going to follow an uncertain trumpet. So if you go and you introduce, hi, I'm Jane, I'm going to be your teacher. And you may already know a lot. And if you do, I'm going to just pass you through to the upper levels. And that horse will go, okay. But if I go, hi, are you feeling okay? Oh, wind blew, it could scare us. But I will comfort you and give you some soothing paste or GastroGuard or fucking whatever, like, I don't know what they call pot these days, but I know that it's in a lot of I mean, it's just insane that the posturing isn't communicating. So we want to impart information to the horses. So now I started on the uncertain trumpet thing. Really knowing what it is that the riding needs to be, and that the horse needs to know, and that the rider needs to know to work together, that the horses will feel that. Excuse me, my phone's ringing. I don't know. Oh my God, it just drives me crazy. Sorry. Mute. they're not going to follow an uncertain trumpet. Last week, I was driving towards that idea. And I also mentioned a checklist that I have. I titled it the Rideability Checklist. And what the checklist is it is literally a checklist. If you went through all of the entire classical training library and sussed out what the most fundamental ideas that a very rideable, useful horse should know, that's in the rideability checklist. I've had it for years and years and years. I will pass it on to you upon request if I don't think you're going to plagiarize it. It is, think it's in one of the classes as a resource, but I can't quite remember that. But anyway, and I'm not going to go through that whole rideability checklist because I also mentioned the summary of riding. And that is something that I'm going to go through today. Anyway, the net is if a rider trainer, even a more novice one, has internalized and has read, studied, considered, and at least to a degree started to internalize what is in the rideability checklist. It's just one page. And what the overview of gymnastic riding entails, which is basically Gustav Steinbreck, pages 71 through 78. That is enough information digested, and information informs behavior. So I don't posture. I go, oh, hi, horse. I know this. Do you know it? I'm not sure. So I review it for him. He goes, I recognize that, but I feel a little uncertain about this part. And so I help him. But too few of you know this curriculum that I've put on a couple pages and that I know in my brain and that I know in my cells and that the horses know that I know it when we go up to them. And there's another feature that I want to bring up here, and why this is about tense horses is going to be made known in just a couple minutes. What was the other thing I wanted to say? It just left my mind. Oh, well, it'll come back if it's important. The knowing what needs to be achieved or what I remember is that this is another thing that I see happening too often, that the horse business and instruction is focused on fixing, but we don't fix, we educate. And imagine how you would have felt in first, second, third grade if everything, I mean, maybe this happened to you, but the teacher was in telling us stuff that we had to know and then testing on us, but she wasn't picking us apart and always pointing out what we couldn't do or didn't know. So horses aren't a thing for the clinician to fix. So posturing, anyone talking about posture in their social media, that is a gigantic red flag. And fixing is also a gigantic red flag. Fixing is what you do when you don't know how to educate. And even when a problem horse comes, we do not fix it. We find out what it needs to know. And then we teach it the right things to know. And usually if you do that, if you've intervened early enough, because sometimes the mistakes are permanent, which is why you just can't afford to be ignorant about this. If we intervene and explain the the right way, through the right process in an understandable way for them, the problems fade away. They aren't like, we're going to confront your tension. Like, that's not going to help anyone. Anyway, so what I did say in the first couple sessions that was going to happen this summer are examples. The rideability checklist I mentioned last week, you can get it, but you have to ask for it. And this overview of riding. This overview of riding that I'm going to go through right now with you is, I've been using it for decades, really. It is, you know how people that go climb Everest, the little like things that they hammer in the side of Mount Everest are already there. The climbers of Everest these days don't have to really, the route's been planned, and the little bridges across the Danger Glacier and all those other places, they're already there. And that is what this overview is for you. And so I think I'm just going to, yeah, I'll just go through it. I started to go through it the other day and I forgot a part, so I'm going to just go through it with the little, okay. The first thing that is in the rider trainer's mind is the objective that we want to achieve in the overall training. And that is, what is our aim? The rider's aim is, the rider trainer has achieved his end goal aim when both forces of the hindquarters, the carrying power and the propulsive force, bound by elasticity, are fully developed, and when he can use and balance the effects of these forces at will and in precise ratios. So that tells us what our primary aim is and our focus is. And this well-trained horse, this outcome that we want, follows our decisions, but he governs his own momentum by carrying. The rub is that riding is faster than speech, and this is why it's crucial to understand the overall goal, the theory, and the directives prior to the actual riding. We teach ideas and a language to the horse. It is the equitation language, and here is its summary. All riding boils down to 4 events or elements. These are go, carry forwards, turn, stop, slow down, and continue as is, also known as carry on. These 4 events occur upon 2 possible lines of travel, curved lines and straight lines. The line of travel is the horse's mission. So that's a very important idea that I have to impart to my horses. The line of travel is the horse's mission. And straight means that his feet track, his right feet track and his left feet track that line of travel, and that his spine is also over that line of travel. So he must have that straightness. And then the other golden rule that we and he conforms to is that he have his own desire to carry, his own desire to advance the load from his carrying power. We already discussed one of the 2 forces of his hindquarter upon that line. So desire to carry plus spine over line. Ride your horse forward and set it straight. That guarantees that that horse is going to be traveling efficiently and comfortably, and they will know it in their own body. Their nervous system will recognize it as a safe, for lack of a better word, to use themselves. And it's known as the way of going. If the way of going does not have the 2 golden rules, forward and straight, it is wrong. And your tense horse might go, excuse me, this doesn't feel physically correct. I could run into a difficulty like fall on my front or worse, or over time, be ruined lame. Okay, now to arrange the horse as straight on these lines of travel, the horse must have a displaceable forehand. That is an idea in and of itself that is brought up early on in the education of the horse. In fact, in the first few days, and the best source for that is section 17 of the French classical instruction, Sommer, 1912. I call it French cavalry directives, but the phonies call it French classical dressage. It's the same thing. Sommer, 1912, section 17. So to ride well, we've got, and for our horses to recognize that what we are asking them to do is sane, for lack of a better word, we must have a full understanding of the operations of the hindquarters and the operations of the front of the horse, the displaceable forehand. These two sections of the horse are wed through the back. A through horse traveling straight on curved lines and straight lines has three gaits: walk, trot, and canter or gallop. If the horse isn't moving in one of these three gaits, he shall be at halt, and the requirements of halt are immobility and readiness to move in any direction. Those two things must be present, or it's not a gymnastic halt with athletic benefit. Okay, when all of this is becoming clear, and it's not that much, we're talking about walk, trot, canter on two types of line in a connected manner. When all this is becoming clear, next we can position the horse two other ways relative to the line of travel, with his shoulders or his forehand to the inside of the line of travel, or with his haunches or hindquarters to the inside of the line of travel. How do we do all this? By the four natural aids, which are our means of communication with the horse for informing, shaping, displacing, and adjusting. These four natural aids are the voice, number one. Number two, the weight of the seat. Three, the leg, and four, the hand. So no winging it. This is where a lot of you guys are going wrong. These aids, these four natural aids, are not vague guidelines or something that you just sort of feel out. They need to be made uniform and deliberate. This will soothe a tense horse. And the seat, the weight of the seat initiates all and becomes predominant in a well-trained, calm, forward straight horse. These natural aids are what form the literal language known as equitation. This language is delivered by a rider whose position is, first of all, loose, second of all, plumb, and third of all, aware of the four natural aids. So training is what you need to impart to this tense, rattled horse who doesn't think you know what you're doing. Training is teaching the equitation language by the principle of association of sensations, which I think I might have mentioned in session number 1. And then calibrating the rider's four natural aids, which are the cause to the horse's understanding response, which is the effect. We've summarized. That's all there is. And it's easy when we make it simple. So that is a summary. It fits on one page. It has 9 sections. There is an hour-long class thing on each of those sections. But with those ideas in your mind, you should be able to go through any kosher, vetted, bona fide instruction manual, and it should align with those ideas. Anything outside of those ideas or where things go wonky. And see, the thing is with a tense horse, they are going to notice uncertainty, and they are going to notice that which they think they cannot do. And that is usually resistance in the body. and I'm talking about the rider's body. Okay. So they want you to know, and they want you to be loose. They want you certain and loose. Okay. I'm going to go a couple more minutes and read you an example. Now I mostly teach professional trainers or train. I don't really do lessons anymore. I train. It's a more ongoing relationship, and it's not like a once a week thing. And I'm going to say something about clinics. Clinics are ruining riding. Clinics really don't work. And I can say that because I was the queen of clinics. I understand them. Training is a daily thing. All right. So anyway, I was saying, most of the riders I help are trainers and professional horsemen, whatever their role in the horse industry is. But I do teach one amateur owner right now. I've taught many amateur owners in my life, but at the moment, only one. And I asked her to remind me to write up a reminder of where we began. We literally started 2 years ago. Okay, and the mare's name is Tessa. Tessa used to be very tense. Her training was via videos from Down Under Horsemanship. The system of training teaches that for a horse to find its balance in the canter, simply canter on a loose rein for long periods of time, and the horse will find its own balance. So we did this every day, day after day, without any good results. We basically careened around a huge arena, and every day I thought that would be the day I would die. She was completely out of control, but I do not give up easy. I kept doing what they told me to do. As a result, she was driven insane. She was completely on the forehand, hollow-backed, high-headed, and nuts. The right lead canter was not an option. She would not do it. The standard method to make her do it was rollbacks along the fence line. She still would not do it. But not giving up easy, I kept trying, and I thought it was my fault that it wasn't happening. And I was sure I was going to die or be severely injured. So then her friend of hers told her about the program I was assembling and basic military riding, which is the summary I just gave you. At the beginning of basic military riding, BMR training, Tessa would find any excuse to look outside the arena and ignore me. When asked to canter, she would bolt with her head high and her back hollow and turn into a runaway. Over time, we learned the basic natural aids and did not deviate from them. We rode circles in both directions to bilaterally strengthen and engage her hindquarters. No matter what Tessa did to resist or evade, we stayed with the 4 natural aids. At times, it seemed like a very slow process, but it really was not. Now, she is somewhat of a lazy sleeping beauty and is very quiet and well-mannered. Of course, she does play little games to get out of work, provided I do my part correctly. She strikes off quietly on either correct lead 99% of the time. I think it's almost more than 99% now, because we're right now, the mare will be doing flying changes, I think possibly in July, but this summer there will be flying changes inside and outside of changes of rein inside the circle. Quietly, round, to the bit, soft, happy, with lots of hinges, lots of articulation in her joints. That's another big reason why these tense horses get so frantic, is because that they have more hinges, that she has more hinges. That is one of the main things that we need to teach into them. And then they feel like they can use themselves. And even if there's a little weird or a hiccup or a woo, they're not freezing. that they have more hinges. More hinges is an athletic advantage. Here's what this amateur owner who owns Tessa. Today is the 9th. This is from her July 3rd lesson. We discussed that Tessa was a basket case when we first started BMR, but now is a bit of a sleeping beauty. The same training solves both the problems. So now that she's like, oh, I just am so comfortable and content that I'm not going to work hard, the same thing that solved her from being a basket case motivates her. The common language of the natural aids are understood by Tessa and me. We both have learned the system. I'm keeping her neck straighter at the base, and she is rounder more of the time. We discussed page 49 in the Principles of Riding. And this is a good thing to close on. This is on page 49 in the Principles of Riding. She's giving you $1 million lesson here. It is a separate paragraph in that beginner's manual in all italics. And I'm going to read it now and end this discussion. Here's the paragraph from the Principles of Riding that is in all italics. Quote, every single joint in the rider's body must be relaxed to a full position and in balance with the horse. Only then can the aids be applied effectively. And here's a footnote from Tessa's owner. The word only indicates that there are no other options or systems that will work.